Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Locker Room podcast. Yesterday, we had a really amazing session with a few of the NFL directors in the West Coast, and I wanted to also give insight into some of the questions that we weren't able to answer, and a lot of them were frequently asked the same but in different ways. And so I thought it'd be nice to deep dive into some of those questions that weren't touched on for any dancers out there who are looking to audition this season and might have questions about the audition process. And if you don't know my background and why I am telling you all these things is because I have been in your shoes, but I've also been on the other side. So I danced in the NBA for 8 seasons. And then I coached an NBA dance team. I was an assistant coach for 3 seasons. And I've also helped judge some semi-pro teams and other teams. I have been on your side many times, and I've also been on the judge's side. And so I can speak from both lenses to support you in making your dream team. The information that I'm referencing is to help you learn not only what you can think of as a dancer, but also an inside peek of what the judges are looking for and looking at while they're going through the audition process. One of the most common questions asked for this Q&A panel was tips and the best way to stand out in a sea of beautiful dancers or dancers who are so strong at what they do. How do you stand out? And there's a few different ways, right? I think the first thing is doing your research and knowing what you are walking into. So is it the attire that the team expects, or the style that the team represents or exudes, or their choreography style, right? Doing your research as much as you possibly can up front. That way you know what you're getting yourself into and that you show up prepared, right? You can also stand out by not showing up prepared, but that's not necessarily standing out in the best way. Reading over the audition page, making sure if there's any FAQs on there that you read it, that you attend prep class, that you listen to what the team and the directors are talking about during prep classes, and then gathering as much information as you possibly can to be able to show up prepared. Now, when you get there and you are feeling any sort of way, just know that there's a high chance that dancers around you are also feeling a certain type of way. And you can insert that thought bubble here, but that thought isn't, especially if it's negative, isn't going to serve you in this purpose. It's not going to help you excel and show who you are and what you're best at. And just go into auditions knowing that you prepared as best as you possibly could to this state and time, right? You are listening to this podcast, you are asking questions, you are diving into information, and hopefully you're preparing beforehand. And if you're not, then you can take this audition process as a learning opportunity, right? And then how do you stand out from other people? Again, it goes back to that research of what is that team's style? What is their look? Are they glam? Are they sophisticated? Are they a little bit more reserved and muted? What are some of the dancers looking like? You can go to their Instagram pages, you can sleuth on Instagram and go stalking everyone and see what that team exudes. And the team page also helps you look. So do they have a specific lip? Do they have a certain type of hairstyle? Are all the girls wearing their hair straight or curly, or is it natural? Just really looking at all those different pieces, because there's going to be a panel of judges. And what that means for you is that you have an opportunity to catch one or all of their eyes, right? All it takes is one judge to absolutely love you and fight for you to go to the next round, right? Or score you really high that helps you go to the next round, depending on what the judging process is like for that team. And so if you can do the preparation ahead of time, know what you're getting yourself into, exude the style, the glam, the hair, the outfits, all that the veterans are showing up as, you want the judges to not know whether or not you are a rookie or a vet going in. They're going to go, oh, this girl was on the team last year, and the coaches in the deliberation room are going to say, no, this dancer's auditioning and trying to make it for the first time, right? And that has happened for veterans and for rookies, right? This is their first time. And as a veteran, you don't want to show up that way. But as a rookie, you really do want to show up as prepared as possible to be able to stand out. And then there's also the dance portion, obviously. And for the first rounds, it truly is your personality, your style, your presence that draws the judges in, that makes them want to see you in the next round. You want the judges to say, like, I like them so much that I want to see them in the next round, right? And at the end of the day, you are auditioning for a entertainment team. And so you need to be entertaining while you're dancing. It's not just enough to be a really amazing, technically trained dancer. You have to draw the judges in, keep their eyes focused on you, and have them not want to look away because they don't want to miss a single thing that you're doing. And that is what helps you stand out, of having that presence, that ability to make eye contact with the judges. You don't have to stare them down and only look at them. I like looking like right above their head because it looks like I'm still looking at them, but I don't have to make that kind of like awkward eye contact. And so that is helpful for standing out. I think this was an interesting, the next question I think was interesting is, for members who have auditioned multiple times, what are some factors that helped them make the team? And every dancer is so unique. I had stuff that I was working on in all my 8 seasons. Dancers who are next to me were always working on something. Some dancers are really great hip hop performers, but they needed to work on their jazz and technique. Or they were great brand representatives, but they needed to work on their choreography retention and being able to show up prepared, right? Everyone has something to work on. And so I think for dancers who don't make it for their first year or second year or third year, whatever it is, or there are different auditions, it might just not be the right time for them, right? It depends on how many veterans are coming back, how many spaces are open, all of those different things, and then how you gel with the current and existing team. That also plays into part of being selected on and making it onto a team. And then your abilities, right? Do you have the foundational pieces and technique that is needed? Do you have ability to perform and draw in an audience? That's the dance piece. But then there's also social media. There is your interview skills, your ability to talk to someone that you just met and be able to carry on a conversation, because that is what you are going to have to do when you are on a team and at appearances, right? It's not just your dance ability. That is a very small piece, because at the end of the day, you are a brand representative and you are going to be the face of a nationally and internationally known organization. And the way that you represent yourself is a very big piece. And so some dancers go through the interview process and they're so nervous that they flop in the interview, and it holds them back from making it to finals or holds them back from making it onto a team. So there isn't one thing that helps a dancer just not make it one year and make it the next year, but it's the continual growth that I believe most directors and coaches want to see. Is that, are you better than you were next year? That's going to help you advance to the next round. That's going to help you make it to finals. That's going to help you make it onto a team eventually, is the continual growth. If you show up in the same place that you were last year or the last audition and you're not continually improving, that just shows that you didn't either have the self-awareness to know that you needed to work on something, that you don't have a growth mindset, that you don't want to improve and grow and learn at everything that you do, or that you didn't work in the past year and you just feel like you are good enough. And while you still have to work on things. Just like I said, dancers who are still on a team are still working on things, but they check enough of the boxes that they make it onto the team and they can grow as they're in it. And I think it depends on how many veterans are coming back. If there's a strong veteran class, you have to be a very strong rookie, because it's either sink or swim, right? You have to be able to stay up to par with the veterans, especially with a super strong, big veteran class, because you hit the ground running, and it's not a time for you to be learning. The time for you to be learning, the time for you to be figuring out the pro style, the time for you to be figuring out your performance and full out and facials and execution is before you make it onto a team, because the expectation is that when you are on the team that you are the professional. Do you think that Tom Brady just walked onto the team and was like, hey, let me figure out how to throw a touchdown? No. Some of those are the fundamentals of being a professional. And if you don't have those skills, or you don't even know what those are, those pieces can sometimes hold you back from making it onto a team, because you don't have the fundamental pieces that are needed for you to excel when you hit the ground running when the season starts. And so as much as you can prepare ahead of time, that is going to make the audition process easier if it's your first time. And if you are coming back for a year and a year again, where is that growth? Where is that continual improvement? And that will help you in making it further along in the process. All right, another question was that forgetting choreography during the performance, right? I think for the most part, judges understand that you are learning a routine very quickly and that you are then performing it. And then you have adrenaline, and then you have nerves, and things happen. The question is, how do you rebound out of it? Do you stand there and you get frustrated with yourself and you shrink in, and then you don't finish the routine because you're mad, and then you just storm off and you don't stand there present and smile and present yourself in a good light and then walk off? Those are two very different reactions, right? How do you recoup from forgetting? You're always going to have someone next to you, if not around you. So using that, use your peripheral vision. This is going to be your greatest asset to learn now, because when you're on a team, you have formations. You are going to be using your peripheral vision all times on a field or court from now on. And so gather what your person next to you is doing, or even just like step, clap, look to the side. What are you doing? Are you doing something to get back on beat, to get back into the choreography? Or you fake it till you make it and you freestyle to the end and you give me all you got and you recover. How can you perform with your face and your body and showcase your love, your passion, your performance, while not letting the mess up get to you? And the more that you practice that, the more that you get into a situation where you're learning quickly, performing quickly, that will help you in the long run, because it helps take out those question marks and it helps you practice of what you're going to do, because muscle memory relies on that muscle, right? And doing it over and over again. And that's exactly why we host our mock auditions, so you can get the practice that you need to be able to say, okay, I just learned a routine in an hour. I'm now performing it in small groups in front of a judge. If I mess up, what am I going to do? When you take classes, when you do performance workshops, all these things, how can I push myself to learn to perform immediately? When I mess up, what do I do? When you practice it ahead of time, then when you get into the real life situation, your body is going to know what to do because you've practiced it. And so that is a big piece. Recover nicely, but also practice what that recovery looks like. And that will help you with any mess ups that happen throughout the audition process, because it's bound to happen. I think my 6th year auditioning, I forgot the routine in the middle of it. And as a veteran, you have way more pressure on yourself because you know what you have to lose and you're fighting to keep your spot. And so it's frustrating, but you keep going, you smile, you entertain through it, and then you get back on track. And it's okay. You'll survive, and it's not as big of a deal as you think if you recover and you stay focused on the performing and entertainment aspect of everything. And then one last question that I'll cover is, other than technical skills, what attributes are judges looking for in a candidate? And again, this is very specific to each team, but I think there is a broad umbrella that you can go under. There's the dance portion, right? There's going to be the fundamental skills. For NFL, it's mostly a double turn, kicks, and a leap, right? Those are your foundational fundamentals. If you, again, I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face to every single person that will listen. If you do not have a double turn that you don't freak out before you go into it every single time, you need to be practicing that daily, every single day. No matter what, you're practicing your double turn. You're practicing your spotting. You're practicing your balancing. You're practicing your double turn. You're going out and into it in different ways. That is going to help you. NBA, it gets a little bit more tricky because each team has a little bit more tricks. Some of them want kip-ups, some of them want rubber bands, some of them want different types of performance pieces. So knowing, again, back to the research of what the team individually wants and is looking for and what their squad does is super helpful, so you know what you need to work on. But I wouldn't focus on giving me an aerial if you've never done an aerial before, if you don't have the other things. And while those are nice to have, they're not necessary because you're not going to be tumbling in routines unless you are one of the 3 people who have them and you're doing a pass through while other people are doing things. So those aren't essential, whereas the turn, leap, and kick are. So you have the dance piece, right? Being able to pick up choreography, being able to perform, execute at 150%. You are performing to 65, 80, 90,000 fans. How can you exude presence, performance, dance big? All those things, that falls into the dance bucket, right? And then there's like all other things. So I talked about it earlier, your social media. This is a very important piece. And if you have not looked at your social media and said, is this good for my future boss to look at on my Instagram? Is this a good representation of myself? Then I strongly urge you to look at it, because that is a big piece that coaching staff or judges are going to be looking at when you are auditioning and getting into the final rounds of auditions. Your resume, your headshot, your application, your references, all of those are very important pieces of the puzzle as well in the audition process. And then lastly, your interview and how you represent yourself from start to finish throughout the entire process. Those are all things that coaches, judges, staff are looking at to make a decision. And as long as you are representing yourself in a good light, then you are okay. But also your interview process is a very big piece of the puzzle because there's 2 pieces. One, you are spending a lot of time with the coaches and the directors and your teammates, right? And so they want to know if you are a good fit for the team and someone that they want to spend a lot of their time with. And 2, again, like I said earlier, is that you are going to be interacting with fans, interacting with season ticket holders, interacting with the front office, and being a great brand ambassador is one of the most important pieces of this job. You are no longer just a dancer who is going on a field or court, dancing around and going off, and that's it. You are a representation of a brand, and that has to come into play during auditions. And who you are and how you represent yourself is going to translate into how you represent the organization. That is a very big piece of what judges are looking for in candidates to make it onto their squad. And it all comes together in finding that quote unquote perfect candidate. No candidate is perfect because, again, like I said earlier, everyone has something to work on. But how many of those boxes can you tick that helps you lean into, let's put this dancer on the squad versus let's hold off until next year or another time? So I hope this was helpful. It was a little bit more general audition feedback and pointers because I can't speak for individual teams, but I can tell you from my experience of what I've seen on my side of judging and being a dancer. And if this was helpful for you and you feel like you need a little bit more support of brand ambassadorship or dancing full out or execution or facials or any of those things, we do have a couple options for you in our training programs. We have our Unleash Your Inner Pro program, which is a monthly program where we actually go over one of these topics every single month alongside the learning from pro choreographers who put routines on NFL and NBA dance teams. And then also we do a power and performance workshop for every single routine. That is our monthly program. And then we are also hosting mock auditions this year, one in Las Vegas and one in NorCal in March. You will get feedback on the entire audition process so you can know exactly what you need to work on between now and your upcoming audition. I would love to see you in either our virtual UIP program or in our in-person mock auditions. I will leave all the links below in the show notes, and I hope this was helpful for you. If you listen to the podcast or watch this video on YouTube, I would love for you to just rate and review or give me any comments, because that is what is going to fuel this podcast and video to help support other dancers. And I am so excited for your audition season this year, and I can't wait to cheer you on throughout the process. And I will talk to you next week.